Stephen Staples, he's director of the Rideau Institute on International Affairs, an Ottawa-based think tank. So first of all, Stephen, what seems to be the general consensus when it comes to negotiating with the Taliban?
Well, it's a controversial idea, that's for sure, but it's not necessarily a new idea. It's one that's been around for a number of years. Our institute first put forward the idea back in around 2006 with the realization that there probably was not going to be a military solution to this conflict and that some other strategy had to be put forward. There's been steps and pronouncements over various times. There have been even some talks in Saudi Arabia, sponsored by the Saudis, amongst the Taliban and other elements to try to bring about some sort of negotiated end to the conflict. But I think what generally is sinking in is that everyone is agreeing now that there's not going to be a military solution to this, an acknowledgement that the insurgency is complex, there's lots of different elements, and that there needs to be some sort of a diplomatic way to end the war and to peel off as much of the insurgency as they can.
Well, how do you gain support for dealing directly with the Taliban when so many would say it is like making a deal with the devil?
Yeah, I think that's certainly a concern, but I think we have to look closely at what's being proposed here. I mean, there's acknowledgement that there's going to be no military solution to the conflict. What I think President Karzai is putting forward here is an economic solution that basically we can create a fund and buy off lower levels of the insurgency to win them over. It's not necessarily full-blown negotiations and a diplomatic solution, which in my view is what's actually needed in order to do this. It's going to be a tough sell. But essentially what this conference is, it's the long goodbye to Afghanistan. Many countries are saying that we're going to withdraw troops. Canada's not alone. The United States as well, even though they're ramping up troops now, have set forward a very similar timeline to ours, 2011, as to when those troops, and they'll be handing it over to the Afghan authorities. But really there is no military end. This is going to end up with people sitting around a table, maybe some people we don't like very much, but there's really no other way to end the conflict.
So what's the strategy here? Is it to sort of drive a wedge in the Taliban by offering what might be considered bribes in the form of houses and jobs?
I think that's it, that the insurgency is, you know, we use the term Taliban, but there's actually many different groups involved in the insurgency, and each has different motivations. Some it may be, you know, jihadists, but others it may be just sort of a nationalistic, it could be tribal, it could be other reasons why the insurgency is going on. So there's an attempt here to try to use money to bring over some of the less ideological elements over. And to show people, winning hearts and minds, that development can happen. But in fact, this has been the strategy for a long time. I mean, the West has poured billions of dollars into aid into Afghanistan with very little results in the South, which has allowed the insurgency to sort of take root in that area because people don't see any of the benefits from all this aid coming in. What's really needed is a diplomatic solution that starts at the very top, and probably some kind of power sharing, I would imagine, in order to really bring the security situation under control. And
finally, where does Canada stand as far as influence in the debate over the war's end game?
Yeah, this is I think a little bit of concern here, in that we've contributed billions of dollars to this conflict over the last decade. 140 lives have been lost in this, and a lot of the argument has been that we needed to take up this very aggressive combat role so that we would have a role in determining the future. We would have a seat at the table. But yet at this point, while the table is being set here in London, it doesn't seem that Canada has that real seat there. We don't have any new ideas, it seems. The government is not putting forward many proposals to try to exert influence there, which I think is a terrible mistake. Canada could be there leading a diplomatic solution to this, trying to forge a way forward so that we can bring a peaceful end to the conflict by 2011, when many of these troops are going to be leaving and we hand it over to the Afghan government to provide its own security. I would like to see us playing a much more aggressive role that way.
All right, Stephen Staples, we'll leave it there. Thanks so much for your insights. Always appreciated.
Thank you.